We're here at Gallaudet University's Kellogg Conference Center for the Office of the Tenant Advocate's first annual Tenant and Tenant Association Summit. Stay tuned for an exciting mix of interviews featuring elected officials, conference sessions, and tenant activists. We're here with Mary Cheh, Councilmember from Ward 3 at the Office of the Tenant Advocate's first annual Tenant and Tenant Association Summit. Welcome, Mary Cheh.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
All right. Tell us why you felt compelled that the city of Washington, D.C. needed an Office of the Tenant Advocate.
Well, it was clear to me that the tenants didn't have the kind of strength and direction that they needed to confront what are often very serious problems at the hands of, property owners. And so it was an idea of Councilmember Jim Graham's that he moved forward. It was an idea that was around for a while, but it was something that was absolutely needed, and we're already seeing great benefit because, for example, I've been around to apartments in my own ward where issues have come up, and the Office of the Tenant Advocate, either Johanna Shreve herself or her staff, they come out. One thing that people don't know is the intricacies of some of these laws. So she comes out and explains it to them, and then they're able to defend their own interests. And then, to the extent that they can use additional help, she's able to provide it. So it really gives them an opportunity when sometimes they've been left at sea against actions that are taken against them.
What kind of legislation do you think is important right now for tenants in D.C.?
Well, one of the things we're working on is to reform the so-called voluntary agreements, whereby the property owner gets a number of the tenants to agree to a rent increase or other changes, and they need 70%. But what we're finding is that sometimes to get this 70%, they're engaging in coercive practices, unacceptable practices, or they're having the current tenants, in effect, bargain away the rights of future tenants. They'll move out people. Whoever remains will agree, okay, their rent will stay the same, but anybody else who comes after. And part of the law for the rent administrator who has to sign off on these things is to maintain an affordable housing supply in the District of Columbia. This is eroding that. So we want to change that. It wasn't meant to work that way. That's one initiative.
Have you seen any impact of the current financial climate on tenants in your ward and in the city?
I haven't yet seen a direct cause and effect. What I have seen is some areas where developers were planning to put up condominiums, and now they're going to make them apartments, to sort of use that part of the market more effectively. And so in some sense, it might be, if you think about it, in some sense, kind of an advantage in terms of tenants, because maybe there'll be more apartments available. Now, these are going to be market rate apartments, and so they're not going to be necessarily workforce housing or things like that. But it may expand the stock of apartments in the city.
What is your vision for the Office of the Tenant Advocate as it continues to grow and serve city residents?
I'd really like to see the Office of the Tenant Advocate be staffed up with sufficient numbers of lawyers so that when there is an adversarial relationship that arises between the property owner, the housing provider, and the tenants, that the tenants can, equalize the sides, that it can be, a fair adversary process. We'd like to not have adversary processes, but they're kind of inevitable because that's the way this operates. I want tenants to be able to be armed up, to defend their rights. Now, many housing providers are responsible and good, and I thank them on behalf of the citizens of the district. But there are a slice of landowners who are not. And those are the people against whom we need the resources and an independent tenant advocate to protect the rights of tenants.
And what's your assessment of how well city residents have been taking advantage of the office? Are they aware that these services are available?
Well, it's been a process of staffing up the office. I think that this annual Tenant Summit is one major step in sort of getting out and telling the community what's out there. But we have a lot more to do. The office itself is going to find new headquarters to be able to have a library and resource area. The tenant advocate herself goes out to many meetings all throughout the course of the year. So it's slowly building, and I think when we have the second annual Tenant Summit, you'll see a real sea change in her efforts.
And what's the most important thing that you want to tell people here at this first annual Tenant Summit?
Get informed, know your rights, and demand them. Okay?
All right. Thank you, Mary Cheh, Ward 3 councilperson. We hope you enjoyed the conference. For more information on the Office of the Tenant Advocate, visit the website www.ota.dc.gov.